Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the Marvel Select Avengers Infinity War Thor and Groot figure set. And this is pretty cool because it's pretty much two full figures for the same price of a single packed Marvel Select figure. And I think that's pretty awesome because for me personally, I really didn't have too much interest in this Thor figure because I know how Marvel Select gets down, and I kind of feel like this figure is just going to be a statue. But I was really excited about the Groot figure, and he looks really cool just looking at him through the packaging. So it's nice that they didn't try to overcharge for these two figures. It just costs the same amount as a regular Marvel Select figure. With that said, it should be noted that the Marvel Select figures have gone up in price a little bit. They used to be $25.99 and now they're around $29.99. So they've gone up a little bit. It's kind of hard to blame them because they've been at that $25 price range for a long time. So, you know, it was only a matter of time that they would increase their prices. But anyways, let's get into this, starting with the packaging. It's the same typical big Marvel Select packaging. Here it makes a little sense because they have two figures in there, and then you have some artwork here in the front, Thor and Groot on the side. And then on the side of the box, we have some artwork based on the movie, and it looks like it's not actual pictures of the actor. It looks like it's artwork just based on the actor. So that's kind of cool, but it's pretty interesting that the look that they have here isn't the same look that they used for the figure. And same thing on the back of the box here. You have this look that he had before he had Stormbreaker. So maybe they were going to do that originally and they changed their mind. I don't know. But anyways, you have some information back here. You have information about the movie. You have some other figures they're going to come out with. And then, of course, you have the little note here that tells you that it was sculpted by Gentle Giant Studios, so that is awesome stuff. And that's enough of this big, huge, crazy looking box that's not collector friendly. This sucks. And since they want to go ahead and change the prices, they might as well change the packaging style too, right? Why not? Anyways, let's get into the figures. Okay, so now here we have them out of the box, and I did take a few minutes to mess around with them. I'll say that I'm pretty happy with this set, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really a big fan of the Thor figure. I think that he's okay, but for the most part, he's just kind of there. I will admit that I do like him a little bit better than I thought I would, but Groot is definitely the star of the show. So let's start off by taking a look at Thor. I think the sculpt is very nice. I like the sculpt work on the chest piece here, and I like the paint too. It kind of has like a weather type of look to it, and I think that's awesome. And I like the sculpt work on the arms too. I like how the armor effect is kind of subtle and it's not overdoing it or anything. All the sculpted details are very nice, so I am happy with the sculpt, but I don't know, this figure, one thing I don't like about it is how thick and heavy this cape is. It's really crazy, and it's in the way, and it makes it so the figure is not very fun to manipulate. So that's one flaw with it. And let's see here. And another thing too is I'm not crazy about this head sculpt. Well, I mean, I like the head sculpt. I just don't think that it captures the look of Chris Hemsworth. It just kind of looks like a generic type of Thor. And I mean, that's kind of cool, but I don't know. I just kind of wish that it looked more like the actor. And another thing I'll say about this head sculpt is it looks a little sloppy because, as you could see, it has sculpted details for the beard, but then right above that, it has some weird paint going on, and I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. I don't know why they wouldn't have just had like the beard and then the skin, you know? I don't really see the need for the paint right there because the beard looks good by itself. Maybe they just wanted it to look more like, you know, rugged and not as clean. But I don't know. I don't think that was achieved here. And another thing I'm not really a fan of is how he doesn't have two different color eyes. I do like the scar on the face, though. That's cool. Then you got some scars on the side of the head and stuff like that. Yeah, so, you know, I don't think the head sculpt is horrible or anything. I just don't think that it captures the actor's likeness very well. But I'd say my biggest issue with the Thor figure is the fact that he's just not very fun to mess around with, mostly because of that cape. But I will say that I do like him a lot more than I thought I would. I'm going to be honest with you. And as for Groot, I think this thing is beautiful. I think Gentle Giant did an amazing job on the sculpt. I love the way the head looks, all the details. I love the eyes. They have like a shiny kind of look to them. And look at that thing. He just looks so perfect. I love his little frown on his face there. That's so awesome. And I'm going to say that this one looks way better than the Marvel Legends one. Once I saw this one was coming out, I had zero interest in the Marvel Legends one. I kind of wish I had it now just for comparison's sake, but for the most part, this one looks like it kills it. But man, look at it. I love all the detail on this guy, and then the sculpt on the body itself looks great. I love the subtle like green color that's in there. Look at that. It just looks so good. Such a cool figure. All the articulation is very well hidden, but he does have really good articulation. So don't let that fool you. I would say that if you have this figure, the first thing you should do when you open it up is heat up the legs. so that you don't just spin the upper thigh swivel there and just tear that peg, because this was really hard to turn. It would not turn for me. I had to put it under hot water and take it apart. But once I did that, I plugged it all back together and it was good to go. But yeah, I'm so happy with the way this figure came out. I think they did such an amazing job on it. And check it out, you have some more green details on the top there. You've got like a little bit of detail inside of his head. I'm gonna have to get my hands on the Legends one and do a comparison, because I think this one kills that one. But yeah, check them out. Such a cool figure. We're just gonna take a minute to appreciate it here, because they did a really good job on it, and I'm very happy about this. When I saw this at Comic-Con, I was very excited about it, and I'm just happy to have it in hand, and I'm happy to see that they did a really good job with it. And I know I'm going on and on about how good this figure looks, but I just wanted to take a closer look, because look at that. That looks like actual wood. Look at it. It's so awesome. I love the way this thing looks. I love the facial expression, the eyes. Man, it's perfect. And for the accessories, they did give both of the figures something, but they gave a lot more things to Thor, including multiple sets of hands. So first off, we have a set of open hands. They gave him a set of fists. And then he has some more open hands, but these ones are more dramatic. And then he has a set of gripping hands. And the gripping hands can be used to hold on to Stormbreaker, but he doesn't have a very tight grip on it, and it kind of sits very loose inside of his hands. And Stormbreaker does look very nice. There's some nice sculpt work on here, some nice paint details. You can see that it's brown with like a nice darker wash in there. The head looks metal, has like a metallic type of look to it. It's pretty shiny. That's very cool. And it just looks very nice. I like the way that the Groot arm looks, with the fingers kind of wrapped around Stormbreaker itself. It looks very nice. Here's a comparison with the Marvel Legends version. And the Marvel Legends version is bigger and stuff, but it just has a plastic type of look to it. The Select one looks more realistic. So I do like this one a lot. And it feels like the plastic is a little more, it's a little harder than the Marvel Legends one. My Marvel Legends one just like warps constantly. It's always messed up. I don't know if I see that happening with this one. I guess we'll see over time, but it feels a little more sturdy, I guess you could say, or a little more solid. But I guess we'll see. But I do like the way that it looks a lot. As for Groot, he only comes with one accessory, and that's his little handheld game console thing. And it fits right into his hands. You don't have to worry about it falling out. As you could see, you know, look, it sits right in there. Doesn't fall out at all. So that is really cool. I didn't think that was going to be the case because of his skinny fingers, but it works out just fine. And for his little handheld game here, there's not a crazy amount of details, but I think it looks just fine. Got a couple like red buttons there, and then it's blue. Looks like it's a little beat up and dented and stuff. Okay, so now for some size comparisons. Here they are next to the Marvel Legends Infinity War Captain America and Marvel Legends Infinity War Thor. And as you can see, the Select Thor towers over the Marvel Legends Captain America. So I don't think that you'll be able to stick this Thor figure with your Marvel Legends unless you get really clever with posing, maybe have him in the back or something like that. But for the most part, I think he's too big for Legends. Groot, on the other hand, I think he looks okay next to that Thor, and even looks okay next to that Captain America. He might be just a little bit big, but you could always use the excuse that Groot could kind of change his size anyways, you know. So I think Groot will kind of work for Marvel Legends. And now here they are next to the Marvel Select Infinity War Iron Man and Marvel Select Infinity War Iron Spider. And I think all four of these guys look great together, and I'm really looking forward to getting the Infinity War Captain America. I think that with these guys so far, you could have a nice little Infinity War Marvel Select display. And then now here we have them with the Mezco 112 Collective Ragnarok Thor and Mezco 112 Collective Black Panther. And even here, Thor's just too big to hang out with these guys, but I think Groot still kind of works. If anything, he's just a hair too big, but like I said, you could kind of make it work. And then now here we have them with the Marvel Select Ragnarok Thor and the Marvel Select Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And as you can see, the Thor figures are pretty much the same size, so that's good. And Groot does look pretty cool next to Star-Lord. And then now here we have them with the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And then here we have just Thor with the SH Figure Arts Infinity War Hulk. And then last but not least, we have Groot hanging out with his best buddy in the whole galaxy, Marvel Select Rocket Raccoon. And in the articulation department, as you might expect, Thor is not very impressive, but you know, he's better than what I was initially giving him credit for. He does have a couple things going for him, but he's pretty restricted. For the most part, the cape really ruins the articulation, and it also ruins the overall fun factor because he's just hard to mess with because the cape's in the way. Like, he actually has decent articulation. I was surprised by the articulation in the chest area, actually, because as you might know, sometimes Marvel Select will have this cut here, and then it won't have very good articulation. And Thor's is actually okay, but it's just hard to mess with because this cape, it's just too hard, you know, just too thick and just heavy and annoying. So that kind of messes with the articulation. But anyways, let's get into it. His head is able to move side to side. You've got a little bit of tilt to it, but his collar kind of gets in the way. But once you get it in the right spot there, you get some nice tilt. He can look up to about there. He can look down to about there. And then for his torso, you get some side to side. Not very much, but a little more than I expected, to be honest with you. So there's a little bit of movement side to side. You have nice twist, and you actually have a, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a good crunch, but you have a little bit of crunch going on there. As much as you could expect from a guy with, you know, an armored kind of suit like this. So I'm really not mad at the amount of articulation the torso area has. I'm just kind of upset on how it's not fun to mess with because the cape, you get your like finger smashed and all kinds of stuff going on. I don't know, it's kind of weak. But anyways, back to the articulation. For the arms, he doesn't have like a typical ball joint or upper bicep swivel. His shoulder is just kind of plugged into the torso there, so it does go all the way around. It comes out to the side, and then he has single jointed elbows, a swivel at the elbow. He has a swivel at the wrist and a hinge at the wrist. And then for the gripping hands, he has the vertical kind of hinge. So that is cool. On the rest of the hands is just a regular traditional type of hinge. And then for the legs, as I said, he has these kind of hips that a lot of people don't like, but I think they're okay on Thor. And they actually, I mean, they work pretty good. They just look kind of weird. But you could bring his leg out to the side to about there. Can't really bring it back at all. And not because of the cape, it's just because his butt sculpt is kind of blocking it. But even if that wasn't, then the cape would get in the way, so it doesn't really matter. And then you could bring him forward a really nice amount, actually. You can bring him all the way to the front, so that's cool. And then you have the upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. And then at the foot, you have a rocking ankle and then an up and down. So you probably can get him into some decent poses, but he's just not that fun to handle because of that cape, man. I hate to keep kind of harping on it, but you know, that's really the big flaw with this figure. If the cape was softer plastic, or even, you know, I know Marvel Select doesn't really do soft goods, but if they did, in this case, it would have been really cool. Or if they just went with the look for Thor that didn't have the cape, like before he got Stormbreaker, I think that would have been a good choice for them, because the figure would have been a lot more fun, you know. But as is, again, the figure's decent. Nothing special, nothing horrible. And with some work, you could get him into some cool poses. And as for Groot, I'd say that he probably has the same amount of articulation as far as like if you were counting the points of articulation or whatever. But I'd say that the articulation just works a lot better on Groot, and he's a lot more fun to handle and mess with. So I'm very happy with what we have going on here. So let's get into it. The head is able to move side to side, and you've got a little bit of tilt to it. He could look up to about there. And the only big flaw that I have with the articulation on this figure is the amount that his head could look down, because it really can't look down at all. Pretty much just looks straight. But if you want to give him that kind of looking down look, you could use his torso to have him looking down. So at least you're able to achieve that, but I do wish that his head and neck area had a little more movement going up and down, or just down, should I say. But, you know, it's not a huge deal. He does have some tilt to his head and stuff like that, so you could still get some pretty expressive poses out of it. So that's cool. And then for the torso is very nice, actually. He does have like that mid-torso cut there, and you could get him to move all the way around like that, get him to go to the side. You have some twist, and then as I mentioned before, you do have a nice little crunch to it. And you can't, let's see, can you go back? Yeah, not really. You could pretty much just get him standing straight up. But yeah, for the most part, I like what's going on with the torso. Works very good. And then for the arms, we've got like a pretty interesting situation because this arm actually gets a little less range than this arm, and it's because the wood pads on the back here, as you can see, there's kind of a cutout on this side, so his arms could go all the way out like that, and you can't really get the same thing going with this side. And I couldn't get this little pad thing over it, you know, so one arm comes all the way out and the other arm does not. So that's you know, that kind of sucks, but you know, it's not a big deal. It is what it is. Other than that, his arm's gonna go all the way around. There is no upper bicep swivel or anything, but he does have a swivel at the elbow, and his elbows are single jointed, but they do get some nice range. Check that out. I'd say like more than 90. Look at that's really cool. And that's on both of them. So really good stuff. And then for his hands, you have a swivel and a hinge. Very cool. And for the legs, you could bring them out to the side to about there. His the plastic is a little soft on him, as you could see, kind of gets bendy there, but his legs do come out to the side. They come out to the front to right there. They could only go back to right there because then it's kind of stopped by the sculpt. And then you do have upper thigh swivel. You do have a double jointed knee that gets a really nice bend. Check that out. That's good. And then for his feet, they could come out to the front to there. You could bring them up to right there. And then you have rocking ankles. So yeah, this Groot figure has really nice articulation. Even though he's small, they were able to pack a lot of stuff in there. And as I said, it has the same articulation points as other Marvel Select figures, but it just works better with Groot. So overall, I'm going to say in general, I'm pretty happy with this set, but mostly because of Groot. For the most part, Thor is just kind of there. I'm not going to say that he's a horrible figure or anything like that, but he's definitely not a great figure. He does have a really nice sculpt on the body. I'm not a big fan of the head sculpt. I don't really think that it looks like the actor. But in general, I think the sculpt work is very good. The articulation is pretty decent too, but that cape is just garbage in my opinion. It just doesn't work very good. It makes the figure not very hand friendly, I guess you could say. It makes it, he's not very fun to handle. He's not a lot of fun to pose and play with and stuff like that. And for me, I'm gonna be okay with him just kind of standing on the shelf holding Stormbreaker, and that's fine. But as far as Groot goes, man, I love it. I'm not gonna want to put this figure down, and honestly, I think that just Groot makes the price of the figure set worth it, because this figure is just so cool. He has such good articulation and such a beautiful sculpt. I think that Gentle Giant did such an amazing job on him, and I'm very happy that it turned out as good as it did, because it looked really nice at Comic-Con last year. I got a good look at it there, and I was really impressed with how it looked. And I'm just very happy to see that he came out just as cool in hand. So as far as I'm concerned, to get this set, it's kind of worth it for Groot. You're going to pay 30 bucks and end up with a really good Groot figure, and then an okay Thor that kind of just could hang out, you know. So I figure for $30, it's a pretty good deal. And in my opinion, I think they should have just made this a Groot set and maybe like included different versions of Groot. Diamond Select always does a nice job with him. They did a comic book version a few years back, and that thing was amazing. And it was sculpted by Gentle Giant too, so those guys do a really nice job on Groot. I think this would have been more well received if it was just a Groot set and had different versions of Groot, different like arms, interchangeable things. There's all kinds of different things you could do with the character like this. It's similar to like Venom or Sandman or whatever, so I think it would have been dope if they did that. But they decided to do this, and I'm pretty happy with what we have going on here. Very happy to have Groot. I'm okay with Thor, and for me, paying $30 for a really awesome Groot isn't too bad, especially considering just how much action figures are these days. You know, Marvel Legends are about $20. Sometimes you could get them cheaper, but for the most part, they're $20, and you know, you're never going to get a Marvel Legends figure that's as detailed and as beautiful as this Groot figure, in my opinion. So I think this is worth it. But anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. Peace.
Crispy.